first of all, I would like to thank the organizers for organizing this wonderful event and giving me an opportunity to share a few of my thoughts about this wonderful and a very important subject about a friendship or a relationship. So, uh, how I would like to take this talk is like this. So, I may be asking many questions in between. So my request to all the audience, I think they have the facility to unmute and answer and again mute it back so that it doesn't disturb anybody else. So this is how we will go through. And as it is already mentioned, those who answer very well, and later after the talk also there are some quiz, and those who answer, they get a lot of surprises. So before I begin, so I would like to start with a small story. And please hear this story very carefully, because after this story, I'm going to ask you a question, and whoever is very quick and alert can answer. So the story is like this. One time, there was a person who was traveling, and he was walking. During earlier days, there were no vehicles. So if at all you want to travel from one place to another place, you have to go by walk. So this person was walking for many kilometers, and it was quite in the noon time, and the sun was on his head and it was very hot. So he thought, let me rest for some time. So he found a very huge tree shade, and he saw there were nobody. So he went near the root of the tree, and he just put his bag and he lay down. He was resting very nicely, very comfortably with cool breeze. And interestingly, there were two holes in the tree, near the root. And as he was taking rest, lying down, he was sleeping, and suddenly from one hole came snake. A snake came out of one hole and it bit him, and immediately went inside. So because he felt somebody did something, so he opened his eyes, and he opened his eyes and saw who pricked me. And suddenly he saw from the second hole, one rat came out. It was so coincident that as soon as he opened his eyes, he didn't see the snake because snake was already inside, but what he saw was a rat. Then he thought, I think this rat bit me. So immediately he said, hut. Immediately rat went inside. And this snake was quite poisonous, and he was bitten by a snake, and he opened his eyes, he saw the rat, and he thought it was a rat bit him. So again he went to sleep. Again he was sleeping, and after some time, rat came out from the second hole. Again it bit him, and it went inside the hole. And the moment he opened his eyes, he saw the snake. Snake came out. So he saw the snake, and as soon as he saw the snake, he died. So my question, let us see who would like to answer. So my question is, this person, he died, is it because he was being bitten by rat or bitten by snake? Who would like to answer?
Snake.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can I answer?
Yes. Your name, you can tell your name and then answer.
Okay. My name is Anant Prabhuji. So he died because of the poisonous snake, because it takes time for the poison to go completely into the body. So when the rat came out and bit him, it looked like the rat actually bit him. So that's like illusion.
No.
No.
Anybody else?
Shall I Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Hare
Yeah.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Because of fear he died, I think.
Yes.
Because of fear.
Yes. So
It was a psychological effect.
yes, perfect. So when he was bitten by snake, actually nothing happened. When he was bitten by rat, actually nothing happened. But when he saw the snake, he found, because he already had a preconceived understanding about the snake. So because of that, immediately he died. So similarly, in our life, many times, because we preconceive so many things, and because of that, lot of disturbances come into our life. So that is why it is very important that we need to have an open mind. So once we have this open mind, it becomes very easy to open mind or broad mind. So once we have this open mind or a broad mind, then it becomes very easy to understand the reality. So that's why my request to all of you. So you are going to hear this talk for next few minutes or an hour or so. So please have an open mind. So with open mind, let us try to understand whatever is good, and let us take and try to implement whatever we feel it is right. Okay, so now what I'm going to speak is about relationship. As I said, friendship or anybody, like mother and son, husband and wife, all this, everything is based on a relationship. So now today I'm going to discuss about the dynamics of relationship, how a friendship or a husband wife, they sustain for long time. So on what basis, what is the foundation for a true relationship, that we will try to understand in the today's session. So now I'll share my screen. So all of you are able to see the screen? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We are able to see, sir.
Okay.
We are able to see, sir.
Okay. So now we will see the dynamics of relationship, and I'm going to take a story from Ramayana, and that from that story, let us see what all we can learn, the importance about relationship. So now again, one more question to all of you. Now Ramayana is such a very famous historical epic, and most of us, we know about this Ramayana. And my question to all of you is a quiz: how many kandas are there in Ramayana, and who can name all these kandas in order? How many kandas, and who can name all these kandas in order? Yeah, so even you can write in chat also. So somebody is saying 8 kanda. No. Anybody? 6 kanda? No. 7 kanda. Harika says 7 kanda. Yes, it is 7 kanda. Would you like to name all these 7 kandas? Okay. Okay, let us not take a lot of time with this. I will only tell you. So you can see here. So there are 7 kandas, and the first is Balakanda, Ayodhya Kanda, Aranya Kanda, Kishkinda Kanda, Sundara Kanda, Yuddha Kanda, and Uttara Kanda. So now, whenever we take any scripture as such, it can be categorized into four ways. And what are this? It's quite interesting, little technical, but it is worth understanding this. So how can we categorize scriptures? First, we can say scripture comes in the category of kavya. So what is kavya? So kavya means, kavya is written in a very poetic format, and it is filled with rasas. And what do you mean by rasa? It is called emotions. The nava rasas are filled in kavya. Hasya ras, dasya ras, madhurya ras, all different varieties of rasas are filled in kavya. I have written the example here as Abhignana Shakuntala, Nala Damayanti, all are rasas. Now, the second category is Shastra. And what is Shastra? Shastra is filled with philosophy. So in Shastras, you don't find any emotions or rasas. but you find a lot of philosophy. So the example is Bhagavad Gita or Ishopanishad. Like for example, in Ishopanishad it is said, Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamataya Purnameva Vashishyate. So like this, everything Om Purna Purna Purna. What is this? What exactly they're saying? It is in a quite sutra format, like formulas, and you need to break your head to understand actually the Shastras. So then there is Shastra Kavya. So what is the meaning of Shastra Kavya? So where Shastra is prominent, but it is put in the format of Kavya, where philosophy is given, but philosophy is given in the format of Kavya, where with a lot of emotions, rasas are also there in that. That is called Shastra Kavya. Example, Srimad Bhagavatam. And the fourth category is what? It is Kavya Shastra, where Kavya is prominent, but Shastra is also spoken. So when Shastra is spoken in the format of Kavya, everyone can relate to it. Otherwise, pure Shastra, pure technical things, pure philosophy, it becomes little dry for us to understand. And pure Kavya will not lead us to the ultimate goal of our life. But when Shastras are spoken in the format of Kavya, then it becomes very easy and very soothing to hear. So Valmiki says, Vedas pratechadas asit sakshat Ramayana atmana. So when Lord came to this earth, then Vedas came as Ramayana. So that is why it is very unfortunate. I say it is a very pitiable situation of any Indian being an Indian if he has not heard Ramayana, if he has not read Ramayana, if he has not come through Ramayana, it is a very pitiable situation. Because he is there in these two great epics called Ramayana and Mahabharata. So you want to know about leadership? Ramayana, Mahabharata gives you leadership. You want to know the ultimate goal? It gives. You want to know about politics? It gives information. You want to know about leadership? It gives information. So everything is there in this Ramayana and Mahabharata. So means the essence of Vedas is also Ramayana. As I was saying, you can say in short, Shastra is for intellect and Kavya is for heart. So those who are intellectuals, for them Shastra, they'll be very happy with Shastras. But those who are like a normal person who wants to live in this world and understands how to live in this world, and he is filled with emotions, and that's why Kavya is for the heart. But when Shastra, even if somebody is intellectual, he cannot read Shastras on and on and on and on. He needs the touch of Kavya. So when the touch of Kavya is given to Shastra, then every person can relish. And Shastras, because only Shastras is very difficult to understand. But when it is put in the format of Kavya, and it becomes so soothing to hear and understand and also implement. So there are three levels of understanding scriptures. One is historical, philosophical, and psychological. So historical means, yes, it happened at this particular time. And philosophy means a lot of philosophical aspects about the absolute truth about the existence is given. And psychology is about how we deal. So in today's session, we'll try to cover the historical, philosophical, and psychological, all the three parts. But our main focus will be on the psychological part of the story. Now another quiz question to all of you. In Ramayana, there are famous brothers. So who would like to say, who are famous two brothers? There are famous two brothers, famous three brothers, and famous four brothers. Who would like to say the famous two brothers? Yeah. So Anand Sai, Ram Lakshman, no. Ram Lakshman are not the two famous brothers of Ramayana. Akhila, Muskan, everybody is saying Ram and Lakshman, Ram and Bharat. Sugriva and Valmiki. No, Vali and Sugriva. Yes. Who said this? 53116. Okay, that is the name. So Vali and Sugriva. Perfect. So Vali and Sugriva are the famous two brothers. Who are famous three brothers in Ramayana? Kirtana has said Ravana, Vibhishan, Kumbhakarna. Very well done, Kirtana Reddy. Yes, the famous three brothers are Ravana, Kumbhakarna, and Vibhishan. Wonderful. And now the question is, who are the famous four brothers? Who would like to answer? Who are famous four brothers? Yes. Ram, Lakshman, Bharata, and Shatrughna. Very, very well done. So, round of applause to all of you, those who answered rightly. So, famous two brothers are Vali, Sugriva. Famous three brothers are Ravana, Kumbhakarna, Vibhishan. And famous four brothers are Ram, Lakshman, Bharata, and Shatrughna. So now, I'm going to tell you the main part of the session is the story of famous two brothers. So, Vali and Sugriva. So, in this story, it is a classic yet a tragic story which says how the best of friends became the worst of enemies. Because Vali and Sugriva, more than brothers, they were so good friends. But unfortunately, because of something, they became from best friends to worst of enemies. How? Let us see. So I always say, in this world, the most important thing is relationship. So there are many suicides which we come across in our daily life, where many suicides, most of the suicides are not because of lack of faith, are because of heartbreaks. I can say, and generally the person who commits suicide, they leave a note. Suicide, it is called suicide note. Have you ever read any suicide note which says, I live in a engineering college hostel, and today I got my lunch, but in lunch I didn't get chapati. Chapati nahi mila, therefore I'm committing suicide. Have you ever seen like that? And somebody else writes, chapati mila magar sabji nahi mila, so hence I'm committing suicide. And have you ever seen like that? And I say, in India, so in India, even, yeah, nobody. So in the chat, people are saying, no, we have never heard like that. Yeah, because the people die not because of this. These things anyway, people get it. But what people generally, their heart breaks is only because of relationship. Because we can live without food for a few days, but it becomes very difficult to live without a relationship. We need to love, and we have to be loved. So without a person, without relationship, life becomes very dry, and there is no rasa in life. Now, if we want to get connected ourselves to God, our relationship with God also depends on our relationship with individual. There are some people who may say, I'm a spiritualist, I'm a great spiritual person, and they may reject people outside. No, that is not possible. If you want to connect to God, first of all, we need to get connected to God's children, because all the living entities in this world are children of God. So if we don't deal with children of God properly, and if you are not in a position to develop good relationship with the children of God, then how we can connect ourselves with God? It is impossible. So relationship is a very, very important thing. Now in this story about great Vali and Sugriva, so Vali and Sugriva belong to the very special species called Vanaras. So who are Vanaras? They are very celestial apes. They're extremely powerful than humans. As per the hierarchy, Vanaras are greater than humans. If you want to understand etymologically, there are three meanings. Va plus Nara. So it means Va Nara. Is he a man? So is it a man? So there's a question comes. That means he looks almost like a man, but actually he's not a man. Another meaning, Va Nara, means one who belongs to the forest, or Vana Nara, one who is a forest man. So these are the ways we can understand about Vanara. So now the real story starts. So Vali and Sugriva, they were the brothers, and they were living in Kishkinda, and they were very happy. The entire kingdom was well administered under the leadership of Vali, because Vali was the elder brother and Sugriva was a younger brother. So Vali and Sugriva, they were living very happily, and all the citizens in Kishkinda, they were also very happy with the leadership. And suddenly one day, they saw a big, very monstrous demon, Mayavi demon, and he comes in the outskirts of kingdom and he starts screaming, "Hey, Vali, are you there? You coward, come out! I want to send you to the abode of death." So this Mayavi demon asks for a combat. He's standing outside and he invites for a fight. And for Kshatriyas, their hands itch. If somebody calls for fight, they cannot say no. And when Vali hears this voice, then Sugriva tells, "Brother, nobody has courage to call you for the combat. But here, this person looks quite strange. If he is calling means, I think he may cheat. So better don't go." But Vali says, "Come on, hut. What are you saying? He's inviting me to the fight. I will go and finish him. I will send him to the abode of death and only then I'll return." And Vali comes to fight. And suddenly this Mayavi demon turns around and starts running away. And he runs and runs and runs. And Vali is also running behind him. And Sugriva thinks that Vali needs some help. So Sugriva also goes behind his brother Vali. And this person, this Mayavi demon, he runs so away, so fast. And he goes very far away from the Kishkinda and he goes inside a cave. And Vali and Sugriva also reach the entrance of the cave. And Vali says, "My dear brother Sugriva, you just wait here. I will go inside and I will kill this person, send him to the abode of death, and then I'll return. Until then, you please wait here." And Sugriva tells, "Brother, why you want to go and fight? I will go on behalf of you. Because you're so powerful and I am sufficient for this demon. So you don't worry, I will go." So Vali says, no, it's okay. You stand here, you wait for me, don't go until I come. I'll go and kill. Vali enters, Sugriva is waiting outside, and Vali enters the cave, and 1 hour pass by, 2 hours pass by, 3 hours, and 24 hours, a day completes. And Vali is inside, demon is inside, Sugriva is outside waiting for his brother Vali, and there is no symptoms of Vali returning. And 2 days pass by, 3 days pass by, and Sugriva is very hungry, and he's saying, "Arey, what is this? 3 days are completed, but still brother has not come." After 3 days, suddenly Sugriva hears a big cry of Vali. Vali is screaming, "Ah!" and he's screaming. And Sugriva understands now Vali has become very weak, and because of no food, and this demon, I think he's a Mayavi magician. I think he has killed my brother. But still he had confidence. No, Vali is very powerful. He will come back. He will come back. And he's just waiting and waiting and waiting. And suddenly he starts seeing a gush of blood flows out of the cave. And as he's seeing the blood, he understands Vali is no more. Then immediately Sugriva thinks, if this demon can kill Vali, who had no equal, there was nobody in that particular time existing who could actually fight and finish Vali. If this demon can kill Vali, and he can kill me, and he can kill the entire Kishkinda, so I should do something immediately. What should I do? So then he sees here and there, and he sees a big crag of mountain, and he brings that big crag of mountain. So he brings that big crag of mountain, and he puts near the entrance so that the demon should not come out. And he goes back to Kishkinda, and he tells everyone that so he tells everyone that this is what happened. I waited for 3 days, but Vali did not come. But what I saw is only the blood of Vali and the scream of Vali. So I understood that Vali is no more. So now I had no other option. So I came back. And everybody tells and understands. All the ministers, the citizens, they say, what you have done is correct. Don't worry. So now, because a kingdom not exist without a king. So now all of us we request, because that throne belonged to his brother Wali and who deserved to be the king. But now and he says, no, I don't want to accept this throne. But everybody pushes him, no, 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 you should become the king. Kingdom cannot exist without the king. So you should become the king. Then finally, because he was forced, so Sugriva finally accepts that, okay, I will become the king, and he sits on the throne. Now, voice is not clear, somebody is saying. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, but in between it a little bit broken like.
Okay, okay. I think I'll come a little closer. Okay, okay. Thank you. So now Sugriva sits on the throne, and after few days, Vali comes. So now Vali comes, and as soon as Vali sees Sugriva sitting on the throne, Vali becomes furious. So Vali returns, and he was tired. He was very weak. He was tired, he was weak, but he was furious. He was so furious that he wanted to immediately kick Sugriva off, and he wanted to literally kill Sugriva. That was the situation. Now he comes and beats him. He beats him, he fights with him, he beats him, and he kicks him off, and he says, I want to kill you immediately. And Sugriva is saying, my dear brother, wait, I want to say something. I want to say something. But Vali says, no, nothing. I can't hear anything from you. You deserve to be kicked off. And other ministers try to come and pacify Vali. He says, nobody can speak now. When I am speaking, I am the only one will speak. And nobody was courageous enough to counter attack Vali's words. Then Vali is very furious and he kicks Sugriva. He says, Sugriva, I would love to kill you, but I'm just allowing you because you are my brother. So I'm giving you a last chance. Just escape, save your life, just get lost. And Sugriva runs away. So now the question is, what Sugriva did, is it right or wrong? It is, as per from the perspective of Sugriva, what he did is definitely right. And from the perspective of Vali, was he right? From the perspective of Vali, Vali is also right. Sugriva is right. Vali is also right. Does it sound logical? No. This doesn't sound logical. Why? Because Sugriva is right, Vali. Two people cannot be right simultaneously. That's what we think. So it is not logical, but it is psychological. This is what happens in relationships. Yeah, you're right. Somebody is writing misunderstanding. Yes. Now we will try to analyze. So it is not logical, but it is psychological. So Vali is a classic example of judgment without understanding. So most of us do the same mistake again and again and suffer in the relationships. Now let us analyze how the best of friends ended up becoming the worst of enemies. Let us analyze this story. I would say all of us, we have a special disease. And what is the disease? And that disease is called I am right disease. It's very unfortunate that any other disease will come and go, but this disease called I am right disease will never go easily. So when it comes to our mistakes, we are very good lawyers. If anybody comes and says that you have done a mistake, then immediately we put our points, arguments, and try to convince that I am right. But when it comes to others' mistake, we don't want to become lawyers, but we want to become good judges. Because for other person, immediately we give judgments. But for ourselves, we become lawyers. We try to argue. So sometimes we form our opinions in a fraction of a second, and abandon others' opinion rest of our life. I have seen even in my family, my relatives, friends, that one person said something at one point in time. At the spur of the moment, something came out, but immediately that person took it to his heart. And until this person died, he never spoke to him. He lost the relationship. But actually, when you try to understand, analyze the entire situation, there was nothing, there was no major mistake at all. But because we have got this, I am right, the other person is wrong. So all these things, we form opinions in a fraction of seconds. So we need to be very careful about not forming the opinions immediately. So now that's why I say, therefore it is better to admit that I am wrong and actually be right, rather than insisting I am right and actually be wrong. Many times it happens. even if I have done wrong, somehow I want to push and prove that I am right. But it is useless actually. But it is better to admit that I am wrong. Why? Because so from scriptures we understand there are three modes of nature. In that, a very nice understanding is given. In mode of passion, a person is attached to his sleep and ignorance. But in mode of passion, those who are in mode of passion, they are attached to their wealth, money, assets, possession, all these things. For them, this becomes the priority of life. But a person in mode of goodness, he is attached to his opinions. So to give up one's opinion is not at all easy. So here, when we say about Vali and Sugriva, Vali was not a demon. He was a great devotee and he was an expansion of Indra. That is why he was so powerful. And also Sugriva, he was not an ordinary person. He was an expansion of Surya. So not to pass judgment about anybody immediately. So I have made some case studies. Quite interesting it is. If somebody is oversleeping, what we say generally, he is lazy or he sleeps like a Kumbhakaran. I think we should name his house as Kumbhu Nilayam, something like that. So immediately we judge. Somebody is oversleeping, we see him sleeping till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and he's lazy, he's Kumbhakaran, he's useless, waste. So many judgments we give. But when I sleep, when I oversleep, what I say, I don't become Kumbhakaran immediately. But what I become, what I say, I was tired. But we don't give the benefit of doubt for the other person that he might have also been tired. He might have worked the whole night, or he was unwell during the night. So we don't give benefit of doubt about the other person. We immediately judge. But for me, when I oversleep, I was tired. And if somebody overeats, what do we say? He's a glutton. He overeats too much. So like that, we give a lot of statements, judgments. But when I overeat, I say I was hungry. So when I overeat, I was hungry. But when other person overeats, he was not hungry. He was a glutton. So hope you are able to understand what I am speaking. Immediately we form judgment. So a personal incident took place in my life. I had a neighbor, one elderly lady. So we shifted to the new house, and this lady would come and talk to us. And we also became good friends, neighbors. So one day she was buying vegetables outside the house. I just came from office and I saw her and I smiled at her. And she saw me, she didn't smile. I felt so offended. How can this person, because yesterday she came to my house, she spoke very nicely. And today I'm smiling at her face. I'm looking at her, she looked at me, but she's not smiling. So immediately I thought, this is too much. Again, after five minutes, again I came, she was there. Again I smiled, again she didn't smile. Then I decided, this lady is too much. She has got a lot of head weight, attitude problem. I will teach her a lesson. So again, second day she came and I didn't even look at her. So this went on, many days went on, and I stopped even talking to her because she had attitude. It's very clear. I'm looking at her face, I'm smiling, and she looks at my face but doesn't smile. So I concluded that she has a problem, that she has got a lot of head weight. So I just left. So I thought, hell with the relationship. So after a month or so, her son came to me. He wanted to have some guidance about his career options. So he came to me, was discussing. So then, in meanwhile, during our talk, somehow about the health issue came. So then her son told me that she had an eye problem. She cannot see anything which is far from her, more than 2 feet or 3 feet, she can't see properly. So then I thought, Arey, Bapre, what did I do? I made such a huge mistake that I judged immediately that she has attitude, she's heavyweight, and she's not even speaking to me properly. She doesn't even smile at me. So these things happens because we form opinions. We judge the other person immediately. So we need to be very careful about this. So it is the same situation. We give ourselves benefit of doubt, and we don't give benefit of doubt to others, but we quickly judge. I hope all of you are able to relate to what I'm saying. That's why I say courage, it requires courage to stand up and speak. Raise, you want to voice your opinion, it takes courage to stand up and speak. At the same time, it takes courage to also sit down and listen others' opinions or others' advice. It requires a lot of maturity and internal strength to understand that I may be wrong. Many times we completely believe that I am always right. Actually, it is not that I am always right, it is a disease. But here, sometimes we have to understand that I may be wrong also. We have to learn to accept this. Now I'll tell you another very interesting story. I don't know how many of you are married here. So generally, those who are married, even in your families, you can see there is always a misunderstanding or fights between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. So one time, a newly wedded wife came to her husband's place and found that mother-in-law was not treating her properly. So she waited for 1 day, 2 day, 1 month, 2 months, few months she went on tolerating all the atrocities of mother-in-law. But finally thought this is becoming too much. It became too much to handle. So after 6 months or 1 year, she decided, I have to take a serious step to teach this mother-in-law a lesson. So she went to a family very well-known family doctor, a very elderly, matured person. And she explained, opened up her heart that, doctor, my mother-in-law is too much. She's like a demoness. And she just keeps torturing me again and again and again. She doesn't allow me to live happily in the family. I have decided that I want to kill her. I think once she dies, I can live peacefully in my family. So dear doctor, I have decided this because I could not keep it only to my heart. I want to express, because you are a very mature person. Since my childhood, I have been taking guidance from you. So what is your opinion? Doctor says, oh, really? Oh, that means you have been tortured too much. But what I would recommend, because if you want to kill her, you take a gun and shoot, police will catch you. If you, whatever modality you accept to kill her, somehow police will catch you and put you behind the bars. Now you are thinking that I will kill her and be happy, but after killing her, you will go to jail. But be very intelligent. What I would recommend is, I have a poison powder. But this poisonous powder, you take this and every day, 1 spoon, you put it in her coffee or tea, whatever she drinks, and serve her. And it will not kill her immediately. You do this for 1 month and check it out. After 1 month, slowly she will die. And nobody will come to know that you have killed her. And your purpose is solved. So then daughter-in-law becomes very happy. Doctor, you're genius. I never thought like this. So please give me that powder. And he gives the one full dabba of powder. And he says one condition, one very important thing you need to note down. And what is that? This 1 month, when you're killing your mother with this powder, poisonous powder, this 1 month, try to behave very nicely with her. Whatever, even if she shouts at you, don't get hurt. You still go and serve her, press her feet, tell her, mother-in-law, you want anything from me? You behave, act in such a way that you are the most loved person. And this you do so that nobody gets doubt. Daughter-in-law says, perfect, doctor, so much, thank you so much. And she very happily goes back, and every day she starts serving her mother-in-law with the coffee. She starts adding the poisonous powder, and she starts speaking very humbly, very gently. Mother-in-law, anything I can do for you? Your feet is, your legs are paining, so I'll press. So everything, she ironed her clothes, and she helped in every way. And within 15 days, 20 days, mother-in-law thought, oh, my daughter-in-law, you are more than my daughter. You are taking care of me so nicely. You are amazing. And mother-in-law's heart completely got transformed. And mother-in-law got completely transformed. And mother-in-law started taking care of daughter-in-law very nicely. And now within 20 days, 15 to 20 days, mother-in-law and daughter-in-law became the best of the friends. And last 10 days, daughter-in-law became so happy that I've got such a wonderful and beautiful mother-in-law. Then suddenly she remembered, every day I've been poisoning her. Then immediately she runs after 1 month. She goes to doctor and says, doctor, doctor. The doctor says, what happened, my dear lady? And she says, doctor, I don't want my mother-in-law to die. Why? What happened? You already fed poison. No, because my mother-in-law is so amazing. She's so beautiful. She's so wonderful at heart. And she loves me so much. It was my mistake that I never took care of her properly. So now I don't want my mother-in-law to die. Doctor, please give me something which can counteract this poison. Doctor, please, please, please. And she starts begging. And doctor starts smiling and laughing at her. And daughter-in-law becomes bewildered. Doctor, I'm crying and you're laughing. Please tell me how it is. Then doctor says, my dear daughter-in-law, the powder what I gave, it was not, there is no poison in that powder. But the poison was there in your mind. I tricked you saying that this powder is poisonous powder. This actually is not a poisonous powder. It is an energy drink. Energy. This powder gives energy. But the poison was there in your mind. But I didn't. But I treated you. I tricked you and treated your mind, the poison in your mind. So then daughter-in-law becomes stunned. She says, doctor, you are such an amazing person. Thank you so much. You saved my life. You saved my mother-in-law. You saved my life. I will be eternally indebted to you. And she goes back very happily. So this is what happens in our life also, friends. Many times we don't understand that I am wrong. And we always think that I'm right. And we end up in so many problems. Now, the wise man, the fool always thinks I am always right. Wise people listen to advice. Life, it is very important that we need to have a very good relationship with people, some seniors who are on the right track, and we should keep taking their guidance time to time to avoid such complications in life. Now we are coming to the end of the story. Now Sugriva meets Lord Ram and seeks his help, and finally Ram accepts. They both become friends, and Ram, all of you know the story. I'm not going in detail of the story, but trying to bring out telling you some things which are very important to understand the psychology part. So now, as per the promise, Ram promises Sugriva that I will kill Vali and get you back your wife and the kingdom. So don't worry. And Ram kills Vali, and Vali was on his deathbed, and Ram comes in front. And Vali feels, oh Ram, and Ram explains, oh my dear Vali, please understand, this is the kingdom of Bharat. Any problem, any mistake is done by anybody in this kingdom, I am the assistant of Bharat. I have to teach them the lesson. And moreover, what you have done is not good. You didn't even try to understand Sugriva, your brother. On top of that, you took his wife also, and there are so many mistakes you have done. And Vali also had made a friendship with Ravana. I'm not going to going in detail. You have made a friendship with Ravana also, which is not good. So many things happens. So because of that, you deserve to be killed. So that Vali, after speaking to Ram, he understands that, yes, Ram, now I understand by your mercy that it is my mistake. I have done a great blunder to my brother, and immediately call my brother. So Sugriva also comes, and Vali asks, please forgive me, my dear brother Sugriva. Now I hand over the entire kingdom, Kishkinda, my wife, my son Angada, in your hands. So please take care of the kingdom. And now it's for me, time has come to leave the body, that too in front of Sri Lord Ramachandra. So please take care. And he was given a beautiful necklace from by Indra, which was actually protecting him. And he takes out that necklace and gives to Sugriva, and he tells, life after life after life, I will never make this mistake of judging people, judging anybody just like that. So he says, thank you very much to Ram, and he bids farewell, and he finally departs. So the three important steps, what we can learn for a healthy relationship from Vali is this. Whenever any mistake happens, please accept your mistake and apologize for your mistake. And third, correct your mistake. So these three things, if we can do, we can actually save relationships. Whenever there is a misunderstanding, better to accept our mistake. So what Vali did, Vali accepted his mistake. Yes, I have done a mistake. Then he apologized. He called Sugriva and he apologized for his mistake. And he says, life after life, I will never make this mistake. That means he was ready to correct himself. So it is definitely true that in our life, we are going to commit mistakes. There is no problem in committing mistake, because if we don't do mistake, we don't learn. So that is why make mistake, but accept your mistake and apologize for your mistake and correct, take corrective measures. So that's why I say, be humble to see your mistakes, be courageous to admit them, and be wise enough to correct them. So the problem is our ego. Our ego may not be ready to accept this. Our ego may be thinking that when we accept a mistake, we are giving up. We become small in front of other person, and actually we are giving up. But in reality, we are not giving up, but we are growing up in our life. So thank you all, my dear friends. A belated happy Friendship Day, and hope this session might have given you some, even if it has given you a little information which is very helpful in your life, which you can implement. I feel very honored and privileged and very grateful for all of you. So thank you all very much.